Severe weather is ramping up for a portion of Tornado Alley here. We're specifically watching out for it later this week here, Wednesday and Thursday, as we have very favorable conditions for some significant, possibly even a severe weather outbreak for a portion of Kansas and Nebraska, and later on eventually in the Ozarks as we get towards Thursday. But as you do see, a very large slight risk for day 3 here, looking at for an enhanced risk by tomorrow, and already a large 15% chance for a portion of the Ozarks and South Central for a portion of day 4 in that region there. But without further ado, let's get into the timing and location for this severe weather. So here's look now at the day 3 outlook, and we have a very widespread slight risk here all the way from portions of Wyoming to as far east as portions of Iowa and Missouri. So this is a very large and widespread slight risk. Although it only covers around 3.2 million people, it is obviously in a very rural area, kind of outside in the middle of the plain, so that does have reasoning. But it is just actually outside of Kansas City, just outside Des Moines, just outside Pierre, South Dakota. So it's just outside some really big cities, which is why it's kind of more focused on rural areas, except there are some big cities like Omaha, Lincoln, and even St. Joseph that are under the slight risk. But again, that's the reasoning why we have over 3 million people in the slight risk. I do expect the slight risk to possibly expand further to the north, possibly even further into the southwest, near portions of northeastern Colorado and portions of northwestern Kansas. But again, that's going to have to be something to keep a close eye on, possibly for tomorrow. But there is a very good chance we will have an enhanced risk being issued, because boy, this severe weather for Wednesday night does look extremely severe. Looking at the soundings and everything, and the overall conditions is looking very favorable for a severe weather outbreak for day 3 and day 4 at the moment. And of course, we'll have a very large, widespread marginal risk for a portion of Tornado Alley, and another large marginal for the Northeast. We actually have around 85 million people in this marginal, but of course there is, including New York City and all of that. But basically we do have areas such as just including Kansas City there, Amarillo, Dodge City, Pierre. You guys are under that marginal for portions of Tornado Alley. Probability for severe weather, we do have a 15% chance a hatched risk, so there is definitely a probability maybe for an enhanced risk to be issued within that hatched risk, possibly most likely for hail is going to be the biggest threat here. But let's now go ahead and look at the day 4 outlook so you guys can see exactly how far out we're talking for significant severe weather. I mean, the SPC does have quite a bit of confidence for these 2 days here, but let's go ahead and look at day 4. So here's a look here. Let's actually scoot that right down real quick. So here is a look now at day 4. If I can actually look at it, there we go, day 4. We do have around 9 million people already within the slight risk, and there's definitely a very good chance we'll have an enhanced risk with this as well. So most likely we're talking back-to-back severe weather outbreaks here. So this goes all the way from portions there of northwestern Texas throughout much of Oklahoma, much of Missouri, and much of eastern Kansas, and the tip there of northwestern Arkansas. So it is including all of the Ozarks basically. So 9 million people, Oklahoma City, Kansas City, Tulsa, Wichita, and Overland Park, and as well including Kansas City. So we are really watching out for some significant severe weather for day 4 as well. This is going to be basically the exact same storms as day 3, except they're moving to the southeast here. So it's going to kind of be the same system, but for 2 days and 2 different areas here. But really watching out, and it's going to be very interesting whether we do have an enhanced risk by this. Once this comes to day 3 tomorrow, it would be really surprising if they do issue an enhanced risk tomorrow for day 4, but then be day 3. I think it's going to be a lot larger of a slight risk. We're mainly similar, but I don't think they're going to issue an enhanced risk for tomorrow for day 4 for this area. But I definitely do see an enhanced risk for day 3, which will be day 2 tomorrow. So I do definitely see quite a few changes for day 3, but I don't see any big changes for day 4 tomorrow. But let's now go ahead and look at the models here, see exactly how favorable the conditions are, and as well the location and timing. So here's looking now at the European, and the reasoning why we're looking at the European, because obviously we're talking all the way for day 3 and day 4. So the NAM 3 kilometer, HRR, they don't go that far out. So I want to go ahead and use the European global model for this. But let's now go into around 5 o'clock Wednesday, May 26th is when we're going to start seeing our first storms popping off there across portions of western South Dakota and western Nebraska. But it really won't start popping off until around 7 o'clock Eastern. So it'll be around, I believe, yeah, it'll be 6 o'clock Central, because Mountain Time's like right to the west. I'm trying not to get confused with Mountain Time, so it'll be 6 o'clock Central Time. So it's gonna be really the early evening hours, is the early evening stage when that severe weather will start to pop off there across portions of western Nebraska there, and near Scotts Bluff, as well western South Dakota near the Mount Rushmore region there. As we now get to 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central, these storms continue to pop off, but they're going to get a lot more severe kind of toward the Kansas border there with Nebraska, just south of North Platte there. So we're talking kind of really rural areas where you're really watching out. I do think there could be an enhanced risk for this area when it comes to day one, when this is finally at day one. But as we now go to around 11 o'clock Eastern, 10 o'clock Central, these storms will continue to fire off across mainly Nebraska. It's going to kind of, that hotspot state-wise will most likely be Nebraska. But as we now go in the overnight hours here, that's when that severe weather will continue to make its way towards the east here. That's exactly why the slight risk does go as far east as Iowa and Missouri, because these storms will still be quite severe by the time they get to these regions, and that's most likely going to be the wind threat, because I do not see a tornado threat really, or at least a slight risk for tornadoes in Iowa and Missouri for day 3. It's just going to be way too unfavorable at that time. It's going to be in the area 3 to 5 a.m. Not going to be that favorable. Let's not even watch out for even Thursday, though. By 6 o'clock, some pretty significant severe storms there near Kansas, Missouri, and as well Oklahoma by 6 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Central, and even by 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central, we're seeing some really severe storms as far west as Texas, and still seeing mainly the more severe storms towards Missouri, Oklahoma, and Kansas. So really watching out for Tulsa, Wichita, OKC, watching out maybe for areas like Lawton, Oklahoma down there. So keeping a very close eye on those regions. Let's now go ahead and look now at the NAM 3 kilometer. Although I did say it did not go that far out, we can get a little glimpse of what we're expecting here on Wednesday evening here. So 4 o'clock Wednesday, some storms popping off there across North Dakota, and a few scattered across South Dakota. The temperatures will be very, very warm here into the 80s around these regions, so we can see Cape values high enough to allow for some scattered discrete cells to pop off. But we're not really watching out for those severe supercells or discrete elevated base supercells until around 5 o'clock Central. Really extremely strong storms that will be kind of coming all the way from Wyoming and making their way eastward. So it's going to kind of be really watching out in general for portions of northeastern Colorado and western Nebraska in the early stage hours. But as we now get to around 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central, these storms will start to kind of move out of Colorado and go further into Nebraska, further into South Dakota, and as well maybe even some pretty severe storms in southeastern Montana and northeastern Wyoming. Let's now go ahead and look at the temperature outlook here to see exactly how warm these temperatures will be. By 1 o'clock May 26th, which is the Wednesday, we're already seeing temperatures hitting the 80s across regions of Nebraska and Colorado. Even some pretty good temperatures in Wyoming and Colorado, already in the lower 70s and mid 70s around 1 o'clock. As we now get to 5 o'clock and now 6 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Central, is when those first storms start to pop off around these regions here, seeing some 60s to as high as possibly mid 70s. So it's going to be a pretty big range from the upper 60s to the lower 70s. Will be the main range for those first areas of development. But by 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central, these storms will kind of make their way towards northern Kansas and central Nebraska, and those areas will be seeing the mid 70s to lower 80s. So overall, some pretty good conditions. Even by the overnight hours, when these storms make their way towards Iowa and Missouri, still seeing some higher 60s and lower 70s. So overall, that is exactly why we're missing a widespread slight risk. As we now go to Thursday, at 1 o'clock, we're missing a lot warmer area or a lot warmer atmosphere already by 1 o'clock Eastern. So noon Central, already hitting the 80s across Oklahoma and Texas, and as well getting into the upper 70s across the Ozarks, which is where we'll be watching out for day 4. By 3 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Central, already getting into the 90s and even triple digits up there for southwestern Texas, but we're watching out for areas all the way from Wichita Falls there in Texas to portions of the Ozarks. So we're going to start hitting the 80s and even upper 80s. So really, really warm temperatures. So really concerned that we will be seeing extreme Cape values, and as well Very favorable conditions overnight into the overnight hours. 8 o'clock, still seeing these upper 80s and lower 80s. So, I mean, this could as well be another big overnight threat as we go into these summer temperatures. Let's now go ahead and look at the dew points, and this as well is going to be a pretty big factor to these 2 days of severe weather. By noon on Wednesday, so 11 a.m. for Central, we're going to be seeing already really good dew points across areas of the South Tornado Alley and much of the Mississippi River Basin, but obviously we're going to be watching out for these areas, and we're not going to be seeing that good dew points obviously that early in the day, only 40s and 50s, so that's exactly why these storms really won't pop off till later in the evening. By 6 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Central is when we kind of see our first storms starting to pop off, getting dew points into the upper 50s. So again, dew points are a little bit on the lower side, but as we go into the overnight hours, we will get better dew points across portions of northern Kansas and southern Nebraska. Again, we're not just watching out for Wyoming, Colorado, and western South Dakota and western Nebraska. We're also watching out for these areas in northern Kansas and southern Nebraska. We'll be seeing dew points into the mid 60s, 65, 64. So it's going to be gradually getting more favorable as we go in the overnight hours. By 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. getting dew points into the mid and upper 60s across areas of the slight risk there. So that's exactly another reason why we'll be seeing a large slight risk into the overnight hours. Let's now go ahead and look now at the dew points here by 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Central for Thursday. And boy, we're getting high dew points into the mid to possibly upper 70s, going to get to possibly 75, 76 degree dew points across portions of the Ozarks there as well. Overall widespread 70s, so the dew points will not be a problem by 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central. Dew points are going to be across the 70s. They're all across the board. So, I mean, it's looking pretty severe for both Wednesday and Thursday. Let's go ahead and look at the Cape values here to see exactly how these temperatures, dew points, are going to affect these Cape values. And let's go ahead and look by 1 o'clock Eastern and noon for Central Time by Wednesday. Already seeing some pretty good Cape values of over 4,000 joules per kilogram down there across Texas, and widespread 2,000 to 3,000 joules per kilogram down there across the southwestern plains. Let's go now and watch for the specific area we're watching out for Wednesday night. 6 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Central, already seeing some pretty good Cape values across northeastern Colorado, northwestern Kansas, and western Nebraska, getting nearly 2,800, possibly nearly 3,000 joules per kilogram across the area already. As we now go later on now to 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central, pretty good Cape values across portions of Kansas, north central Kansas, getting nearly 2,500 to 2,600 joules per kilogram. As well, let's watch out for Thursday by 5 o'clock Eastern and 4 o'clock Central, getting some really good Cape values here across even northern Arkansas, portions of Missouri, getting over 3,000 joules per kilogram, and as well going to get nearly 4,000 joules per kilogram there across Texas and Oklahoma and Kansas. So really looking at pretty severe, really significant day as well for Thursday though. Let's now go ahead and get a look here at the supercell composite index here, or supercell composite parameter. And by 5 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Central, we will be seeing some decent numbers for some scattered supercells across western Kansas. However, again, we're not going to be really watching out for the main storms to be in this area here. We're going to get nearly 12 or 14 on the scale, but that's not going to be the main area. The main area is going to be right here. By 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central, getting numbers of over 23, so as high as possibly a 32. So really good chance for supercells on Wednesday night here. And let's go ahead and look at the significant tornado parameter. By 7 o'clock Central, 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central, we will have to get some scattered cells that can possibly bring in some tornadoes. Going to get as high as already, maybe even I say maybe a 2 or 3 by that time frame. But as we go later on, that chance for tornadoes will increase by 7 o'clock Central and get as high as possibly a 7. So it's going to be very, very interesting scenario. And before we actually look at the sound detail, we're going to be looking at the helicity for 0 to 1 kilometer. So by 5 o'clock Central, not really any storms that are going to bring in high SRH, but as we go later on now into 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central, getting some cells that can possibly bring in over 350 meter square per second square. But let's now go ahead and look at these soundings on pivotal weather. So here's looking now at Wednesday, the 26th here on 18Z. So we're gonna start seeing quite a lot of cap within the region by 18Z, which I believe is the early afternoon, 2 or 3 o'clock here. So as you do see, we're gonna be seeing a lot of cap here across western Nebraska, and the area we'll be watching for that severe weather. So by 18Z, we're not gonna be seeing really many storms here developing really anywhere at this time frame. Like I did say, these storms really won't pop off until really 6 o'clock central. Basically, we will see some scattered marginal severe storms there across north central Kansas. Again, we're seeing some decent temperatures, I mean really high temperatures, sorry, as well, even some marginal severe weather down there across areas just outside of Topeka or Saline. But let's now go ahead and look at 21Z. So it's going to be a little bit more into the early evening hours, and that's when that severe weather will start to become more favorable across portions of western Nebraska, getting very low cape at this point, which is why it's going to stick up marginal severe weather. But let's not go ahead and look at areas near south central Nebraska. A little bit better numbers there, marginal severe weather. But let's now scroll all the way up to actually go back to 21Z real quick, and I'm show you guys the severe weather for areas just outside Scotts Bluff. That is where we're really watching out for those favorable conditions for severe weather. We're going to be seeing some lower shear near the actual surface, but the higher we go up, actually near 6 kilometers, getting nearly 47 knots, and near 8 kilometers, getting nearly 65 knots. So it's going to be a little bit lower, a little bit on the lower side when it comes to when it comes to the surface. But once we go higher, it's going to dramatically increase. But let's not go ahead and look later on now for the 03Z. And we're going to be seeing, again, a lot of cap is going to start coming into this region once we get into the 03Z. So it's going to kind of be limited to a certain time frame for severe weather. But as we go further into portions of nearly Kansas, that's where we're seeing those better conditions. We're going to be seeing some really nice amount of spin in the atmosphere. You can kind of see photograph going straight, hooking to the right, which is showing there is going to be some spin in the atmosphere. We are looking at nearly 2,000 joules per kilogram. We're going to be seeing a lot better shear values, nearly 46 knots for 6 kilometers, SRH 219. We're going to be seeing a superset composite value of 14.3, 3.8 on STP, only 71 on cap, so we're looking pretty good. Look at precipitated water 1.5, and look at BRN shear 91 meters square per second square. So we're seeing a lot of BRN shear here, so it is looking pretty good. Nearly for the Kansas area, like I did say, we can't let the possibility for some significant severe weather for Kansas as well. More towards north central near the Nebraska border, an 18 on superset composite there, a really nice photograph. I mean, look at the temperature, 73 degrees and 68 degree dew points. I mean, it is looking really good here. SRH 271, shear is not too high, but it's not too low either. 1700 cape, so it's actually not too shabby there. Let's go down to areas like southeastern Nebraska as well. We're going to be seeing a little bit lower threat for severe weather, but I mean Kansas is not looking too shabby whatsoever here for the overnight hours here, and again, and Nebraska can kind of die off a little bit. But let's now go back to 21Z to get a little bit better look here. Again, it's going to be starting off really slow for Kansas and Nebraska, and then rapidly going to blow up here. See, going from none to marginal severe weather to possibly for some chances for some tornadoes. As we now go later into 60 again, it's going to get a lot less favorable for severe weather. You can kind of see not looking too good. I mean, we're going to maybe see a marginal tornado threat, but again, it's not going to be looking too, when I say too good, I mean it's not looking like we're going to be seeing widespread tornadoes, but we will be seeing quite a bit of cap. I mean, we're nearly negative 200 joules per kilogram, so it's not looking too good as this cap is going to start really becoming a limiting factor here. I mean, we're still going to be seeing some marginal tornado threats, but cape's going to be very low and cap is going to be quite high. So we're still going to be seeing some marginal tornado threats standings here across the region, across Kansas and portions of Nebraska, but it's not looking too crazy. But let's not go ahead and take a quick look here. For Thursday, looking at 18Z, we're going to be seeing a decent amount of capping there across Texas. But we're still going to be seeing for some severe weather to the Panhandle region near Amarillo, 3,100 joules per kilogram, -9 lifted index. So we're going to be seeing some pretty unstable atmosphere here. SRH is very low, under 50. So, I mean, we're still going to be seeing some severe storms, but they're not going to be really crazy or supercells, anything like that. For Oklahoma, though, we're going to be seeing a lot better numbers here, including lifted index -9. Critical angles at 103. However, BR and shear is really low. Shear as well, very low, and SRH is very low. So 18Z is not looking too good for severe weather for this time frame. But by 21Z, a lot better conditions for severe weather there for portions of Oklahoma, or at least it should get better there. You see SRH is rising, 61. Shear is starting to rise. Lifted index is mainly the same, but CAPE will start rising nearly 3,000 joules per kilogram. Let's go back to portions of Texas here near the edge of that 15% chance. Marginal severe weather threat there, but SRH is looking really low at this point for that time frame. By 0Z, though, that's when things should get a lot better. Conditions-wise, 2,600 CAPE. Look at that SRH, 181. Marginal tornado threat there. I mean, it's nothing too shabby at all. Shear is still low near the surface, but it's rising in those higher areas in the atmosphere. Even that threat for severe weather will start to die off in Texas, but will increase for portions of the Ozark region there, getting a tornado possible hazard there near the Ozarks, near just outside Tulsa. 2,200 joules per kilogram, 115 SRH, which is still a little bit on the lower side, but it's doable. Let's now go ahead and look near. Even Missouri can see some severe weather there. Actually, possibly a little bit too late there, but let's now go back towards Kansas City, just outside Kansas City. Marginal severe weather threat there. Let's go towards the southeastern portion, and marginal tornado there for Oklahoma. And let's now go to 0-3Z. And let's go ahead and look at Missouri. We could see a lot of limiting factors at this point. Once we get towards 0-3Z, we will start to see a lot of limiting factors, including CAP, coming into play. We're still going to be seeing some tornado possible hazards here, but look at these numbers. At this point, the CAPE is going to be very low, and the CAP's going to start catching up to nearly -300 joules per kilogram. So it's overall summary of what we're looking at is looking pretty good for severe weather for Wednesday night and Thursday. I mean, we're not seeing terrible soundings again with the big jump from 0-0-3Z or 21Z to 0Z. It's kind of a big time frame where we're missing out. That's exactly why we have to get closer and wait for the NAM3 kilometer to get here so we can get a lot better look at these soundings. But let's go ahead and look at the NAM3 kilometer for these soundings here for portions of Nebraska. This is going to be obviously for Wednesday night. We're going to be seeing up to 2,500 joules per kilogram according to the NAM. -7 lifted index, but again, SRH is being very low. But by 18Z, it's kind of where it's getting our first storms across this region. Again, we're not going to get our really more severe storms until around 21Z. So let's go to 21Z here. For this region here, we're going to start seeing some more severe weather there across portions of Nebraska, getting 3,400 joules per kilogram. Severe weather, SRH is still a little on the lower side, but lifted index is at a -11, so very unstable atmosphere, 83 degrees and 60-degree dew point. So dew points will still be on the lower side for Wednesday night according to the NAM3 kilometer, but I mean, soundings are looking a lot better compared to the GFS to the NAM3 kilometer for Wednesday. As you now go to 0Z here for portions of Kansas, we're looking at still some marginal severe weather, so even some more severe weather continuing in the overnight hours. 2,200 joules per kilogram. CAP's going to be looking pretty low, 80 SRH, but 387, 3 kilometers. So we're actually seeing a ton of SRH in the higher atmosphere compared to the surface. So it's going to be looking at pretty unstable atmosphere. Still some more severe weather across southeastern Nebraska overnight there. And let's not go into Kansas into the overnight hours, getting a marginal tornado threat, but CAP will be a lot lower compared to what the GFS was showing at this time frame. 2,500 CAPE. Let's not go for north central and central Kansas there. Tornado there, 3,200 joules per kilogram, -95 CAP. Let's go towards southeast or northeastern Kansas, marginal tornado. So it's going to be a lot less of a threat near Kansas City, but a lot bigger of a threat there into the rural portion of Kansas. A pretty good tornado soundings, a lot better compared to the GFS. So we're seeing, look at that supercell numbers, 26.7, and SCP numbers nearly at 2 there. So we're still seeing a really big threat for supercells We're getting 11.6 there, but we're getting nearly almost 30 on the scale there for supercell, 24.9, 2.2 in the SCP. So I mean, it's looking pretty darn good. SRH at 276 in the surface and 525 and 3 kilometers. So it's looking really darn good for severe weather on Wednesday night here. Let's now go and take a quick look here at Thursday really quickly here for portions of Oklahoma and Texas. And again, really watching out possibly for some tornadoes. 3,500 Cape there near, let's go to north central Texas as well. Some more severe weather. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys later tomorrow.